Hello friends, welcome to another episode of Blossom and Bourbon. We're back here at Brady's Distillery in Roanoke, Virginia. Appreciate so much them letting us shoot a couple of episodes here. And a real treat is that we're gonna get some behind the scenes from Brady's in just a little bit. So through various episodes, you've seen me do leaf manipulation. And we've talked about different ways to kind of create unusual shapes or accents in arrangement with leaves. So I thought we'd sort of compile some of those different techniques into one episode so that you can kind of have a reference for what some of those techniques would be. And the greenery of choice is our friend aspidistra. Aspidistra is also known as the cast iron plant. And because it is so incredibly sturdy and versatile and hardy, even looking well and surviving without water, it's going to be the thing that really does kind of allow us to play with a lot of these different techniques. Okay, so let's just jump right in. The first one that you've seen me do occasionally is you cut a sharp, kind of angled end on the stem, and then you're just going to curl the leaf over and you're going to pierce the stem through the leaf. Now, this is a great way, as you can see from that camera above me, to actually begin to cover mechanics. Because look at how much coverage there is just from that one insertion. So let's do a couple more of those. Flip the leaf, pierce the leaf with the stem, and you can go right through that stem below it, same way. We're already beginning to create some coverage there. So that's one technique. Another one that you've seen me do quite a bit is where we take the spine of the leaf, we're going to give it a couple of snips, and pull on those without going all the way to the end, okay? Now each of these has a fresh cut on it, so that means it will absorb water, and so we're going to insert that into the foam, and then just kind of twist, spiral around until you get it the way you like it. And again, to have a little more control if you wanted, if you don't want this end kind of flying loose, you can take the pierced end and go back through that part of the leaf into the foam. So you've got this nice little whorled kind of accent. So let's do another one of those. Cut on the end, a snip, pull not all the way to the end, another snip, again, pull not all the way to the end. Didn't quite cut that enough. There we go. And let's just kind of build that up a little bit so we'll kind of have some vertical accent in here. All right, so those are some kind of fun ways that you can create spirals and curls and curves with this greenery. So another way that you can really create an interesting shape, I did this one ahead of time and I'll show you how to make it, is this kind of open, flowy kind of weave. I'm gonna pull a piece of cardboard up here because this requires some cutting and I don't want to cut on top of this barrel. But you take the leaf, and you can do this with your fingernail actually, and I unfortunately don't have fingernails, so I'm gonna do it with my blade. You start near the spine, kind of go out and work your way down to the end. We're gonna do another one. Just kind of doing a curve. Doesn't really matter if you follow the natural veins in the leaf or whatever. And you can make these wider, you can make them narrower, really whatever the kind of look is that you're going for. Then when you hold it up, you can see that it's going to kind of fall into that really beautiful shape. If you don't get enough droop here or kind of drop, you can kind of work the cut back just a little bit toward the main spine that's in the stem, and that will allow it to open up a little bit more. So that's a great kind of fun look for a leaf that can add a lot of volume, dimension, and really a lot of fun to an arrangement. All right, another one that's very similar. So we're going to take the leaf, and this time, when we do our cuts, we're going to go all the way to the end. And this is actually going to make something that kind of resembles palm as much as anything. So if you're doing a tropical arrangement, you don't have palm, you want palm desperately, you could use this technique and create something that looks like palm. And again, vary the thickness of the cut to your liking and your choosing. Okay, and so there you have just that loose, open look, which is why it kind of resembles palm. Another way that you can add some volume, length, kind of a flowing, cascading element to the arrangement. It's perfect. A very similar kind of approach. So you can leave some of the cuts kind of connected at the end. These two over on this side I left open, and then I've made other cuts in one of the leaves and just flip them over and pull them in. And if you wanted, you could even cut these, weave them back through the other side. I don't know, just kind of an interesting look for an arrangement. Again, to add some more volume, more depth, a lot of kind of openness and airy quality to it. A couple of super simple ones. One is just a roll technique, and you simply roll up the aspidistra like this. Most of the designer instructors that I've seen do this technique use a stapler. So you literally would just put a stapler right inside, hook the leaf together with a couple of staples, and then you have this really cool kind of curled shape that could be low in an arrangement. You could leave them really long and have them tall, but it's kind of a fun look. If you didn't want to use a stapler, if for some reason the staples bother you or it doesn't really go with the design you're using or whatever, you could probably use the Oasis sticky dots and help hold that closed. I think that would work and work just fine. But anyway, that's kind of interesting too. I like that. A variation on that is to make a cut. This time we're going to go down the center, right along the spine. And we're going to roll up just like we did with that one. So then you have that effect, which is also kind of interesting. Now, none of these things are going to be harmful to the leaf. They're not going to impact the vase life with the leaf. They're going to stay nice and beautiful, green and fresh. And then probably one of my most favorite ones is this one, which I used just recently in a design that I did for one of our videos. This is so much fun. So a quick little demonstration of how this happens. We're going to take the Oasis U-glue strips. Typically one strip will do it. And we're going to look for two leaves that are approximately the same size. This one's a little bit longer than this one, but I think this will work great. So what we're going to do is take the sticky strip, and we're just going to kind of stretch it out. It's a little bit like Tar Baby here, so you have to, kind of work quickly and carefully as you're doing this, and stick it right down the center of the leaf, right along kind of that main spine. All right, then we're going to take an 18 gauge wire, which is a nice heavy wire. We're going to just lay it right on top of that sticky strip. There we go. Then this leaf right on top of that. You do kind of want to match up the center vein, that center spine of the leaves as you're doing this. Right down the center. And then it kind of looks like you have one leaf that's sort of sandwiched together, but that wire then allows you to make all these crazy shapes. So you've got the wire in there and you can really kind of create whatever shape you want. You can use floral tape to hold these two stems together. As you're working in the arrangement, just be sure to fresh cut both ends of the stem and put them in the arrangement so that both of these will have a drink of water when they need it. So this can also be a really fun, kind of unusual accent to an arrangement. This is a crazy arrangement we're getting to here. But you can see that you totally could do an arrangement that's all foliage. You totally could do that and have something that be really beautiful and really kind of interesting. So that about wraps up the floral portion. for this episode on aspidistra and leaf manipulation. I hope you've enjoyed that. Stay tuned for some treats coming from our friends here at Brady's Distillery in Roanoke, Virginia.
This right here is 5 years. And, you know, depending on who you are, you have a real appreciation for bourbon that you know when this barrel was filled 5 years ago and the bung was put in, hasn't been opened, hasn't been touched, nothing. It was transported, and you know, until we opened it yesterday, it's never been opened for. So now this is full barrel proof as well. So it's roughly about 117 proof.
Oh, that is
delicious,
nice.
Isn't it? Yeah. It is really, really good.
So smooth.
Smooth for being 117 to 118 proof.
Right.
It's unbelievably smooth. Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, that's hard to imagine.
It really is. Yeah. If you tasted an unaged spirit that was not aged in a barrel, and it was 117, 120 proof, and it was clear,
you'd
be spitting it out.
Yeah.
Or you wouldn't be able to swallow it. It's extremely strong.
Because it's like hand sanitizer.
Exactly. Yeah. Something like a rum would be the exception if it's got any kind of flavoring to it.
Right.
But just grain alcohol, you know, it's not very tasty. People always find this extremely fascinating, but they always ask us, how do you test the proof? And we have this device here that it has a refractometer in it. We keep distilled water in the refractometer at all times, so that it's not damaged at all. So we have this spirit here. It accounts for the temperature, so we know it's 83 degrees in here. And I'll just use the plunger. And so I said 117 to 120. Yeah, so 119.96 at 83 degrees.
Yeah. So when this is finished, what's the goal for the proof at that point?
So the goal for the proof on this particular barrel is 94.
Okay.
What we have to do to get something to 94, and this is another thing a lot of people don't know. They think when you run the still and you're making vodka that it comes off at 80 proof.
Right.
And that's not accurate at all. It actually will come off as pure and as high proof as possible, and we shoot for around 192 to 194 proof. Okay. You can't really get any higher than that. So when you want to make vodka, you just add water back to it to get it down to your desired proof. It's no different than bourbon. Right. Now, the one thing about bourbon that's extremely important is that a very large percentage of it is water. So the water that you use to proof it down is extremely important. So when we dump this, we'll dump this into one of our many collection tanks that we have, and it's coming out at 120 proof. We need to get it down to 94.
Right.
So we do some very, I had it here, sitting here a second ago, we do some very extensive math to figure out. There's plenty of apps out there for it. You just plug in the proof, the temperature, and it'll tell you exactly how many gallons. Andy likes to do it all.
Right.
Do it all on paper. But yeah, so we'll figure out exactly how many gallons of RO water we need to add to this.
Right.
And the other thing that we do is we dump it into this tote right here, which is a 275 gallon, tote. And that's our bourbon tote, and it's what we have is our infinity blend.
Okay.
The reason we do that is we never empty the tote. And the reason for that is consistency. Because you never know if this barrel's 5 years. Well, the barrel we just dumped in there 2 weeks ago was only 4 years and 2 months.
Okay.
And so you're going to have different flavor variations, but they're so minute to the average person's palate, they're not going to be able to pick that up. They would, though, if we just went straight from this barrel to a bottle. Right. And they may have a bottle from last year that tastes different from the bottle that they bought today.
Okay.
Where if we take this and we put it into our infinity blend, which we never get below about 150 gallons, so we'll bottle. Once we get to 150 remaining gallons, we'll dump 2 more barrels, and then we should keep that blend going.
Gotcha. Okay.
And the bourbon is also unfiltered too. So I use unfiltered loosely because we do use a mesh bag to catch any large charcoal chunks that come out of the barrel.
Okay.
But it is not uncommon for you to grab one of our bourbon barrels and without shaking it, look at the bottom and you'll see an actual charcoal ring. Okay. We do that intentionally. Cool. We don't want to filter it.
Yeah. So. This is awesome. You guys, come to Brady's. You got to try the product, and now that it's got a national reputation for gin, we'll be expecting that for bourbon soon. So yeah, please, if you're in the area, stop by, check out the tasting room. They've got amazing staff, amazing cocktails, obviously amazing product, and great Southern hospitality. Cheers.
Cheers to that.
Brian, thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it. You guys, till next time, cheers to you and to flowers every day.